Hi, the Torah portion this week is entitled Chayei Sarah. Yes, this is the summary of this week's Torah portion taken from Genesis 23 verse 1 to Genesis 25 verse 18, and it is entitled Chayei Sarah, which means the life of Sarah. Sarah, who died at the age of 127 years, was buried in the cave of Machpelah in Hebron, which Abraham purchased from Ephron the Hittite for 400 shekels of silver. Abraham sent his servant Eliezer to Haran to find a wife for Isaac. At the community well, Eliezer asked God for a special sign to identify the specific maiden. Rebekah, the daughter of Abraham's nephew Bethuel, showed up at the well and she adequately met the requirements of that special sign. Eliezer was invited into their home where he retold the story surrounding the day's events. Afterward, Rebekah returned with Eliezer to the land of Canaan where they met Isaac, who was praying in the field. Isaac married Rebekah, loved her, and he was comforted after the loss of his mother. Abraham took a new wife whose name was Keturah, and he fathered six additional sons, but Isaac was designated as his only heir. Abraham died at the age of 175 years, and he was buried beside Sarah by his two eldest sons, Isaac and Ishmael. Now, let's look at the Haftorah portion taken from 1 Kings 1, verse 1 to 31. This week's Haftorah describes David as an aging king and echoes this week's Torah portion, which mentions Abraham's advanced years. King David was aging, and because of his advanced years, he was perpetually cold. A young maiden, Abishag of Shunam, was recruited to serve as well as provide warmth for this elderly monarch. Adonijah, who was one of the King David's sons, saw that his father was well advanced in age, and this young man seized the opportunity to prepare the ground for his ascension to the throne after his father's death, even though King David expressed his wish that his son Solomon should succeed him. To facilitate his ascension to the throne, Adonijah then enlisted the support of the high priest and the commander of David's armies, who fell out of favor with David but remained influential individuals. Prophet Nathan encouraged Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon, to approach King David and to plead with him to reaffirm his choice of Solomon as his successor. This she did, and also mentioned Adonijah's recent actions of which the king had been unaware. Afterward, Nathan joined Bathsheba and the king to express support for her request. King David acceded to their request. Now, what is the life lesson out of this? It's very, very interesting. If you look at Genesis 23, verse 16, and Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, reading from the King James Version, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver which he named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchants. Verse 17, and the field of Ekron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, field, and the cave which was therein, and all the trees that were in the field, that were in all the borders round about, were made sure. Verse 18, Genesis 23, unto Abraham for possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in at the gate of the city. Now you might say, this is what is the life lesson that can be found here? Abraham hearkened. Now Abraham hearkened unto Ephron. Hearkened here is the same word as to hear, taken from Deuteronomy 6, verse 4. Hear, O Israel. It's the same word. Abraham heard, Abraham hearkened. Deuteronomy 6, verse 4 says, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. That hear there means to hear as well as to respond what is heard. So if you look at Deuteronomy 4, verse 6, it could be read like this: Hear as well as respond to what is heard, O Israel. The Lord, the self existent, eternal, covenant one, or God, the supreme judge, is Lord, the self existent, eternal, covenant one, unity or unique. Hallelujah. Now, I have some questions for you coming out of this particular set of verses. There are some interesting words there. Ephron points to God by his hand or the hand of God. Sons points to builders. Heth points to terror. 400 through the letter Tav points to Jesus the Christ. Hallelujah. Machpelah points to uh, uh, a door of love and unity. Before there points to in the presence of. Mamre points to power in the palm on the inside. Hallelujah. And borders points to borders and territories. Made sure points to establishing and raising up. And so when you put it all together, I'm just going to summarize it into the form of some questions for you. As you hear as well as respond to what you hear of unity or unique again and until he being everlasting forevermore and you being his witness with eyes to see through the door in his house, will you allow God by his hand in the audience of the builders of terror to point you to Jesus Christ, who opens a door of love and unity in the presence of your house, giving you power on the inside to raise up and establish borders and territories round about as he determines for possession, even in the presence of those builders of terror who are in government. Very interesting interpretation when you look at those words which I just mentioned. So I have some more questions for you. Will you respond in submission and obedience to the everlasting, forevermore Lord, again and until? Will you be his witness? Will your eyes see through the door in his house? Will you trust his hand even in the audience of those who build terror? Will you keep on pointing to Jesus the Christ? Will you go through the door of love and unity which he opens for you? Will you allow him in the presence of your house? Will you allow him to empower you on the inside? Will you raise up and establish borders and territories round about as he determines for possession? Will you occupy until he comes? Will you occupy even in the presence of those builders of terror who may even be in government? Will you? Will you? Hallelujah.